Good morning, everyone. It's Catherine Middlebrooks from BRB Yoga. I wanted to join you today to give you a couple tips on walking and the importance of your alignment and technique when you walk for your core, for your pelvic floor, and for your hip health. I have a blog post coming out about this week, so I will link to that blog post below. But I wanted to also just give some visuals to go along with it because it can be tricky. You wouldn't think it would be tricky because it's just walking and you do that every day. But there are some things to keep in mind. Okay, let's dive in. First things first, when you are walking, first of all, there are lots of benefits to walking. It is really helpful in terms of getting your circulation going. So if you are someone who is struggling with diastasis recti, abdominal separation, circulation is key because it really helps the connective tissue heal faster when you have better circulation. There's not a lot of blood flow to connective tissue, so the more circulation, the better. Also, when we walk properly, it can help make the hips stretch and strengthen the glutes. These are very key parts of keeping the pelvic floor healthy and stable. So if you're someone who has pelvic floor issues, often there are imbalances. There are weaknesses in the glutes and tightness in the hips, and walking can help correct those very naturally and very easily. So walking is a really, really good thing to do. It also creates these natural forces, gravitational forces, right? Every step you take kind of creates this downward pressure on the pelvic floor, which is good for the pelvic floor. It naturally causes the pelvic floor to contract and strengthen, and that is helpful for good pelvic floor functioning as well. So what do we want to be aware of? First, here's what not to do, how not to walk. And honestly, if you start looking around a playground or anywhere where you see moms and kids, you see a lot of this type of walk. This is what not to do. It's this walk where there is this sort of laid back sort of sense where the upper body is back, and you can see I'm kind of reaching my legs forward to walk. That's not the way we want to walk. That walk is very quad dominant. I have to use my quad, my hip flexors to lift my leg up and then reach it forward. A good walk is instead, it has this almost this forward momentum in the upper body, right? You can see how I just shifted from this to this. Forward momentum in the upper body. And the action of the legs happens behind you. So you walk by stepping and pushing your foot back behind you. I don't have really enough room here to do a good long walk where you can see it, but you can see I'm walking and the walk is happening behind me. Also, my legs, my knees stay relatively straight. I'm not bending my knee to walk. I am pushing through my foot. Now, the foot is another place where it's important to pay attention to what's happening. In a good walk, we are rolling through the entire foot. So we will push off the foot. You start with the heel, right? You roll from heel to the ball of your foot, and then you push off through the toes. And that pushing of the toes is what really propels you forward. Okay. So that's the main distinction that you need to be aware of. There are other points that I mention in the blog post, which again, I will reference below, but I just want you to be aware of this sense, even if you took none of those other tips, but you just changed from this quad dominant walk where you're lifting the leg in front of you to a more glute dominant walk where the leg is, the work is happening behind you and you're squeezing the glute with every step, that would do a lot of good for the health of your hips, your pelvic floor, and your core. So I hope you find that helpful, and I will be back next week with another tip. See you all soon.